Okay, good evening. I would like to call to order the Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 Architectural Review Board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mason,
Here.
Baker, Schneider,
Here.
Barvin,
Here.
Mason.
Okay, if we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have one addition. Thank you very much. We do have one addition to the agenda this evening. That is appointments of the chair and vice chair. With no objections, we'd like to add that as agenda item 4. Alex, do we need to vote on that, or can we just, with no objections, just amend the amendment? Okay. We'll just go ahead and add it now, and then when it comes up on the agenda, we'll address it. We added an agenda item 4 for appointments. Oh, meeting.
Of the fiscal year, so at the first July meeting, you have to set your chair and your vice chair.
Okay, I apologize. We need to dispose of that now.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it right now. So, any further explanation is about our annual appointments? Chair, vice chair, it's a 1-year term. Any questions? Okay. Do we have a nomination for chair?
Nominate Marchant.
Okay. Any other, do we have to vote on that?
Is there a second to it?
Is there a second? Second? Okay. Okay. Any other nominations? No? Okay. On the one nomination, all in favor of?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. That motion will pass 3-2 with Mason and, what's Justin's last name?
Baker.
Baker absent for the vote. Okay.
Nominations for the vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Ben Barvin for vice chair.
I second that.
Okay, first and seconded. Any discussion? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The motion passes 3-2 with Baker and Mason absent for the vote. I'm sorry, guys. Came back from vacation, going back to work. Mine's not there. So, okay, we are now moving to our citizens' time. Are there any citizens that would like to address the ARB? Going once, going twice. Okay. Next item, agenda item is minute approval. On the agenda, which meeting is it for, Alex? June. Do you remember the date? June
12th.
June 12th, 2024. Does anyone have any amendments or questions about the June 12th minutes? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve as presented?
A motion to approve as presented the minutes for June 12th.
Okay, has been made. Can I see a second?
I'll second.
Okay, made and seconded. Any further discussion? Nope. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 3-2 with Mason and Baker absent for the vote. Okay. Agenda items. First up is ZP 2024-0607, exterior modifications at 6660 Fayette Street. Ms. Pater, thanks for coming back. I drove by today. The improvements look great.
Thank you to do. I'm very pleased.
Good. Did you want to walk us through what
Yeah,
we're
I'll
going to see?
I'll give a brief
Okay.
reintroduction to the application. So as in our last month meeting, we had the same house under application. It was more for exterior structures, facade, windows, door, roof, those kinds of things. What was approved were the black standing seam roof, the board and batten vinyl shutters as presented to the meeting, black front door, the wall of face. The texture and the color of the exterior facade were part of the conditional approval, and the reference shutters were painted black. We then moved the porch and lighting structures to this month with the new application as part of the conditions as we discussed in the meeting. What I have for you tonight are, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of the particular designs here, the resubmission of the porch application as well as the light fixtures. On packet page 12 is the ideal dimension or visual of the 9 foot by 6 foot patio. The colors will match the exterior, which was the Panda White as approved in the conditions of last month's meeting. Additionally, on packet page 13, there's another example of the more design frame with the oak wood posts. And correct me if I'm wrong, are they stained oak or are they not?
They will be seen.
Will be stained oak. And there will be the light fixtures affixed to the door will be of the design shown in packet page 14 and 15. Will be two, one on either side of the door. Okay.
Okay, so just to clarify, on packet page 13, it's the column style that you're looking at versus the, okay,
Yes.
versus the full patio across the house. Okay.
And it will be right up against the home. It does not tie into the roof line. So it's not necessary, like it's freestanding, just right up against the home.
Okay. And when I looked at packet page 12, I thought it was your house, to be honest with you. So if that's how this is the depiction.
I worked really hard to
So-
find something that was
Yeah,
as close to what it was going to be.
exactly. So that same pitch of the roof, same open concept. These look like squared columns. And it looks like they have, sorry, my eyesight's bothering me. Okay, so was there two columns in the front with a decorative sort of wrap? And then was there columns up against the house as well? So you have two in the front and then you have two in the back supporting up against the house. Okay, so that's what you mean by freestanding structure, okay. And then the roof material would be the same as the house?
So there's been a slight adjustment because the cost comparison came in on the metal roof. They're very
Okay.
expensive.
Okay,
So we're just gonna go with very dark shingled, the architectural style black.
okay,
Metal on the portico. So the seamed metal roof on the portico.
and then the dark shingles on the house?
Architectural, yes.
On the house, okay. That seems pretty typical. See those two, okay.
It's
sorry.
it's just a replacement of what's there. It's just
Gotcha.
going darker black.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Those are my initial questions. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Scale of massing seems appropriate. Did you have a preference white over a darker color or just the option to do either for the columns or the posts? You had
So I'm
some,
gonna do, it's a stained oak,
okay.
so it's not gonna, it's.
So it's this design, but with the
that
darker
color.
posts.
There should have been, did I provide that column color? Okay.
Isn't
okay,
so that's not on,
be a column color.
it's not on packet page 13? Because those have
So Lynn,
the
do you mind coming up
darker.
with-
No, I
show what we're
don't,
pointing at?
I just, I'm more appropriately dressed to approach the, yes. So, yes, that's the column color that I would like.
The column
So, yeah.
color on this design.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then were you gonna have the tongue and groove on or just have the exposed ceiling?
I would like just the exposed ceiling.
Gotcha, like that. Okay.
Because the lights, I want like enough, there needs to be enough distance or like visually
Mhm.
to make sense.
Gotcha. Okay,
Because they're larger lights.
gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thomas, any other questions, concerns? Okay. Metal roof for the portico, black. Dark gray, or what was the correct color for the columns? Squared columns, painted,
You said
So it's just gonna be
stained,
like a stained oak.
and oak wood columns. Did you want rounded or square? They're rounded in the,
Square.
okay.
So with that panda white, white, like it's stark white, would look dirty all the time. I didn't want to look dirty, so the black is really important to make it look as white as possible. That's what I'm trying to get to. But, so like the black trim and all of that is, but the oak would be a nice offset.
Good. I agree. Thomas, any other points to be made? Do you have a motion in here?
Do we, since the roof to the main structure was changed from the standing seam metal black to black asphalt shingles, do we need to amend that?
Because of the change just proposed,
Yeah.
I'd add that amendment in there as
Okay.
well,
Okay.
just to
We'll
cover our
change
bases
the-
there.
Change the roof to architectural shingle. Okay. Give me a second.
So
It was
staff
my hope
recommend,
to get the metal, it was just astronomically expensive when it came in.
draft motion on page 9 with the conditions we've discussed or details.
Any other questions before I try to put a thing together? No, okay. Okay, Alex, you ready? Okay. Okay, I move that the board approve the COA for ZP 2024-0607 for the portico, lighting installation, and roof installation at 6660 Fayette Street, based on the following conditions. One, the roof shingles will be a architectural style black or a similar color. The portico will be a metal roof black. Posts on the portico will be square post stained oak. And the design of the portico will be as presented on page 12 of the July 17, 2024 Architectural Review Board report. Any other amendments, clauses? Okay. Alex, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor, or any further discussion? Okay. Can I get a second?
I second the
I'm
motion.
sorry. Been made and seconded. I'm sorry. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That motion passes 3-2 with 2 members absent for the vote.
Baker or Mason?
Baker and Mason. Thank you. So, thank you, Tracy Lynn. Best of luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Thomas, just as and I assume you'll do this anyway, but if you can update the application and other materials to indicate the roof change,
Yes.
please.
I'll make sure to include that in the update.
Okay. All righty, next agenda item. How do I get to the first page?
Let me direct you to a particular page within the
Okay.
application, page 33. I think giving you the visual first will help, and then I can go into the staff report.
Okay, before I do that, well, this is, next item up is, how do you quickly get back to the front of the agenda when you print out the whole packet? Or when you have the whole packet here?
There's not a page up. You need,
Yeah,
you need like a beginning or end.
Excuse the old folks at the dais.
No, I mean, normally there's a button here.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to the cover page. I like the links to the items, that's
You
great.
can just also go up there and type in one.
Type in one, where's the keyboard right there? One. Oh my gosh. Blind leading the
Do
blind.
you just want me to take it and do it for you?
Mr. Bain, could you help me navigate this magic box? Okay, I apologize, everyone in the audience. Okay, this is item number 2, ZP 2024 0701, COA demolition for shed structures at 6794 and 6796 Fayette Street. Mr. Thomas, take us away. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And if you'd like to, Jim, if you'd like to go ahead and go up there as well, I'll introduce the application and then they can ask you further questions.
Thank you.
So let me direct you first to packet page 33. It'll give you the best visual, 33 and 32, give you the best visual of what we're working with. So in an effort to sell and then redevelop a couple of lots down by the Norfolk Southern Railroad and the corners of Jefferson and Fayette Street, there was a parcel that when the applicant happened upon a plat that showed a subdivision in the past, submitted through the county and then resolved any other concerns with us about the subdivision. What you have here is the plat that is officially recognized by the town and the county. It was originally just a large plat that had the historic Pearson home on it, which is the, if you're looking at the plat directly, is the one-story building. It's the blue house on the map that I provided on packet page 32. The subdivision has 3 lots. The 2 shed structures we're looking at are, as shown on the plat, the frame shed and the one-story frame building. In an effort to resolve any outstanding zoning issues that came from the subdivision, one being the parcel line bisecting one of the building structures, this is why the applicant has come to apply for demolition of the shed structures. In packet pages 34 through 44 are reports and pictures, photographs of the shed structures for your consideration. The goal is to demolish these sheds, and then once those outstanding zoning items are resolved, fix up any other ingress egress issues at 6796 Fayette Street, and then sell 6794 and 6792 Fayette Street for redevelopment. In the staff report for this application, I'll just briefly go over our findings. So the buildings are part of a larger collection of structures. However, there's only one historic Pearson home, which those 2 sheds are not considered that. So because of that, it will not damage, demolition of these structures won't damage the on-site historic resources. The border structures, one is the single-family home to the west of the 3 parcels, but it's completely buffered by landscaping and trees. And then you have the 2 existing single-family homes next to it. On the corner of Fayette and Jefferson Street, there are 2 lots that are currently under development. They're both large single-family homes. And so there are no other historic really characteristics of the other lots nearby. Additionally, one of the shed structures, the one bisected by the parcel line, had tenants at one point. In recent inspections of the site, we were still looking to see if there still were tenants on site. With that in mind, though, there isn't really any sort of adaptive reuse that can be done with those structures. And with those parts of the staff report considered, the applicant can also go in depth on the narrative, but it's our recommendation that the 2 shed structures be demolished. And this is Jim Abadi, who's representing the application.
Ultimately, we're looking to develop those lots. We have the builder that has the 2 other parcels adjacent to 67.
Press the.
Oh, sorry.
That's it.
I was not speaking.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. So I am representing the owners of 6796 for this application. And the purpose of demolition of the shed would be to, first of all, resolve the zoning violation that's taking place currently with the shed being on the property line of 6796 and 6794 Fayette Street. Secondly, it would be to develop on the lot itself by the builder that we currently have the 2 lots under contract with. They have the 2 other parcels that Thomas had just mentioned next to 6796 and off of Jefferson Street there on the corner lot. being developed currently. If there's any questions, I can answer specific ones. I'm more than happy to.
I think just to orient, because it took me a minute just to align the two images, the plat plan or plot plan with the I guess it's the GIS data that you have in here. So it looks like it's, obviously it's the one framed building between lots 2 and 3, and then it looks like it's the framed shed in lot 3. Is that correct, Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're clear because there's 2 sheds that are identified as frame sheds.
Yes, frame shed on lot 3, 1-story frame building
Okay.
between lot 2 and lot 3. Those are the buildings we're considering.
Just one quick question. I did go out and look at the 1-story frame structure. It does look in remarkably better condition than what the photographs show. Looks like it had been recently painted and updated. So I would just ask that if we were to approve this, that the most current photographs we made of all 4 sides of the structure. Thomas, do we know if there's any, sometimes these structures, I don't think this house was old enough, the Pearson home was old enough to have like a, not a carriage house, but it's not clear that these structures were necessarily accessory to the Pearson house. They just seem to sort of be haphazard,
Yes.
not any relationship to the original one. The other structure, I would agree that, it's a fairly utilitarian structure, the shed that's along the border, and doesn't seem to have a clear relationship to the house. And I would agree that the condition is somewhat dilapidated, but I would disagree necessarily with the condition of the other one based on my observations out there today. Thomas, you and I discussed earlier today, I'm sorry, any follow-up to that? Okay. Thomas, you and I discussed earlier today in terms of the tier. The reason why it's here is because it's a structure within the historic district. Would not be, you and I talked about buildings versus structures, but I don't think we would argue that the 1950 date has relevance here and that it's not a listed structure or resource in our comprehensive plan. So that's sort of 3 tiers. It's here because it's and Ben, you and I talked about that earlier today. It's before us because it's a structure located in the historic district. Consistent with the other ones, I would suggest again that photograph from the road just to get the context from the road. The 4 sides of the 1-story structure, I think, seems to have more importance or relevance. And in doing so, I think it would be just these utilitarian sheds were sort of the history of what the town did over time. So just to have that photo documentation in the file in case anybody wants to do research on it, along with the plat. So I'm comfortable, given the information presented in the staff analysis and the presentation, that these are appropriate for demolition. So.
I think the only other thing that I want to add, like, what is it? There's a couple, like there's 2 photos right before the application that I think are a little bit misleading. Because like, I think the second photo, this is on packet page 27, it looks like it's of the actual home. And so I think looking over this before the meeting, I just wanted to make sure that,
I can give context for this
yeah,
as
yeah,
well
just
here, yes.
to make sure that we're talking about the structures that we're talking about.
And I'll let you speak on this too, Jim, just with this, after this introduction. As part of our curiosity to see if there still were tenants there, what I show on packet page 26 is the shed structure, and then packet page 27 was more showing that the orange power line that was on the shed attaches to that single family home. And that was it. I've been in discussion with Jim since then, and the cord has been removed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. I mean, as far as we're aware, that was primarily used for a shed.
Okay.
And there was a tenant that was using it for shed purposes, and they were using it for light fixtures, running extension cords. But we've informed them that it's being demolished, and we've already set a date for them to vacate.
Yeah, no, I think my question was just about the photo because it looked like it was for the house, and I just want to make sure that that we're all on the same page as to what's being demolished on the site, because there are a lot of outbuildings on the property.
Okay, any other further questions? I'm going to draft up a motion quick. Thomas, do you want us to break them up between the two buildings or sort of do one motion that covers both?
Zoning administrator is comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with both in the same draft motion.
Thomas, do you have a draft motion?
Yes, on packet page 27.
Thank you for putting the narrative together. That's helpful to have as part of these applications.
Thank you.
Okay, I move that the board approve the COA for ZP 2024-0701 for the demolition of two structures at 6794 and 6796 Fayette Street, further described on page 33 of the July 17th packet boundary survey. This would apply to the frame shed on lot 3 and the one-story frame building between lots. Is it 3 and 4? Between lots 2 and 3. Also subject to the one-story frame building being documented through photographs as seen from Fayette Street and the 4 facades of the building. And to have that information verified by the zoning administrator, or to have that documentation of the photographic evidence prior to issuance of the zoning permit. Alex, did that mess you up a little bit? Sorry. Okay, motion made. Could I get a second?
A second.
Okay, made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-2 with
Baker and Mason.
absent for the vote. Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Thomas.
Thomas, I tried to correlate to the plat. That's why I made the additional references.
No, I appreciate the designation in that, especially with the 2 frame shed references.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, because I think originally I had the one plan switched, rotated 180 degrees in my mind.
We still have these old properties in town. Okay, next up, agenda item 3, Architectural Review Board Guidelines Discussion. Mr. Thomas.
yes. So many meetings ago, we discussed guidelines updates in conjunction with some of the feedback that was given to me by you as the board. Additionally, in conjunction with some of the other historic district discussions we had about historic structures, list of historic building inventories, those kinds of things. I've provided a skeleton framework of the ARB guidelines for your review and comment. As we discussed before, it's brief updates of the conditions of each district in Haymarket. I've designated in general in structures or in each section, and also for each type of structure, what is administratively approved versus what is approved by the Architectural Review Board. I cleaned up a few formatting items, added a few different formattings, and then made a few updates to the appendix of the ARB guidelines. As part of that, I added a historic district map. I do recall in our conversations, I believe 2 months ago, that the board also wants to see maybe older structures that were once in Haymarket, those kinds of things. What I provided for you tonight is just more where that would eventually go. And I still am working on updating the list of historic buildings, what counts as a contributing resource. Right now, I'm just showing you where it will look like. And this is not going to be the final format as well for the guidelines. We'll polish that up, make the design better. Any other references that you have suggestions for, we're happy to take those and then add them into the guidelines. I will say, as an example, let's see, on page 51 of the packet, I know we talked previously about maybe sometimes having references to the zoning ordinance, but also making, I guess it's balancing between having the references there for the applicant to see, but also cross-referencing the zoning ordinance and making sure we have a streamlined packet. It's been our discussion internally as staff to include, at least especially for certificate of appropriateness, what is explicitly required via the zoning ordinance for those kinds of items, which is why I've included the whole language of that particular section. And you'll see that in a couple of other parts of the guidelines updates. The main, and just one more item as well, in the appendix, I've added the entire historic district overlay reference in the zoning ordinance. More just, this is the reference. We're not going to throw it in your face at the beginning, but it's a point of reference for you to look at in the appendix. And then I added the draft Haymarket Historic District overlay map. We still need to go through the correct channels with that with Planning Commission. Otherwise, I would have provided you with an update to the language of the historic district overlay. But right now, this map is a placeholder for where that will eventually go. I'm always open as well, or we as staff are always open more to, if you really feel like there's a sign that encapsulates a certain district in Haymarket, give me that recommendation. I'll make sure to include pictures of it in the guidelines. Other than that, in terms of updating the historic structures inventory, I'm open now to your feedback, what you have.
So this is a working draft. I think, you know,
Yes.
I appreciate that. I have a couple comments already. I really didn't have a chance to kind of do a deeper dive in it. One of the things I noticed, we're still kind of having the reference to the appendix out of order within the text of the guidelines. We go A, C, D, and then B. And I think one of them also got removed. I think there's a reference to Appendix E, which was the paint. So that will need to be updated within the body of the guidelines. I think to your point about, you know, the zoning and kind of linking those two, I guess for me, I kind of view as, you know, the historic district design guidelines as more of a supplement to the zoning and everything else. And so I think, you know, we provide the reference because ultimately within the zoning, it talks about the certificate of appropriateness, right? So I think we link folks there because then it just kind of makes us a little bit, kind of weighs this down a little bit. I did find other instances, I think, where we're redefining Architectural Review Board and Planning Commission again. I think for the most part, you've picked up on a lot of the board and switching those to ARB and PC. So I think, you know, you've done a good first pass on it. I like that we have this timeline in here. I think one of the questions that, you know, personally in my own job, whenever I'm reading a report, right, I look at it when I review it. It's like, okay, who is the intended audience, right? What are they? What's the end goal? You know, why are they looking at this document? What do they want to get out of it? And I think at one point within the timeline or in the procedure, we talk about all applicants that require administrative approval, and we kind of talk about that, but we don't really get into administrative approval until kind of later on. And it's, you know, I guess the other question is what happens if additional information is required, right? Because in my time here on the board, there have been times where we get applications and there's missing information, we can't weigh in. And so I think I would think the intent is town staff to kind of be the gatekeepers to work with the applicants to make sure that they have all the necessary information.
Do you mind if I pause on that comment real quick, just
Sure.
for clarification? What I'm hearing on your end is, one, what counts as administrative approval, and that's somewhat of a separate timeline. And then two, what's the best flow or visual for that? I'll answer to the second one, because it sounds like with the first one, you're wanting more explicitly define what is the administrative approval and then what is ARB approval timeline.
Yeah, because
written out.
I think, right, because, you know, most of the folks that are coming to us, they're probably new to this process, right? And I mean, me being the engineer that I am, I'm very detail oriented. And so I, you know,
Established. the
yeah,
definition
and
from the
I would
beginning,
kind
yes.
of like put all this stuff out there. And I think, you know, for other folks, for us to kind of not have to have them come back multiple times or kind of delay their process. I think if we can be a little bit more clear. And I think we've even talked about updating the application form at 1.2.
Yes. One thing we're also working on internally is updating all of our flow charts that we have. We have some templates that we're working with.
Okay.
So I can, depending on what our zoning administrator says as well and your consideration with the board, we don't, like you said, we don't want to bog this application down too much, but if we include that flow chart in there as well,
Yeah, I think that.
or at least a reference to it, and here's another document you find on the town website that gives you that flow chart.
Yeah, that will certainly be helpful. I noticed, I think we have two sections kind of broken up into new construction in addition to existing non-historic and non-contributing structures. And then we also have one for contributing structures. And I think we talked about, and within the edits, I think there's alterations to existing structures that are not within the historic district overlay. But then, I mean, I think my question is, okay, what if they're within the historic district overlay, but they're not a historic structure? What's my, where's my path?
Tier list.
Yeah,
your
what's
criteria for
what's
that?
my adventure path I'm going on here? I think even here, we talk about jumping down to the next thing about colors, about sufficient information. I don't know if we want to provide material samples. This is on packet page 58.
Mhm.
I thought it was interesting on page 60, we talk about chimneys being constructed of brick, stone, or brick and stone facing, which I think now a lot of the newer homes probably have siding on their homes. I know Longstreet is kind of exempt from the guidelines, but a lot of them at Longstreet are covered in vinyl siding or aluminum siding. So I don't know if that's something that we still want to.
I can look into materials updates just in general
Yeah.
for each one.
I think we also use the language non-contributing resources versus, non-contributing buildings. I think we should just be a little bit more clear. I think the intent of the inventory list is for structures, right? Rather than actual sites, because that's, what they do at the national level. So I think we just need to be clear that it's about buildings. Packet page 63 is the one that talks about Appendix E for painting instructions. So that should be struck out. I think it's a good catch-all on package page 65 about situations not covered, and then additional requirements. And so I think one of the questions is like, okay, if I'm somebody trying to navigate this, how do I know if my application is ARB required or administrative approval? So, but maybe that just deals with calling you guys and working that out. And then I think Appendix A just seems to be a lot of the zoning stuff, and so I think we just want to be careful about putting it in verbatim when stuff gets updated, because then if that gets updated, then ultimately this has to get
Domino
updated.
effect, snowballs.
And so I think knowing the procedures, right, then everyone has to review it and approve it and go through that. I think I had something else further back.
You feel comfortable just giving him your notes?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, my intent was not to just kind of hijack.
No, you're fine.
Um,
That's why we're here.
package page 73, Appendix B, where it says the sign design examples. We talk about letter type style found in Appendix A. That's no longer Appendix A, that's Appendix E. So,
I guess if there's also time, if there's a day you wanted to sit down with Thomas and go through those too, if you had capacity.
That works.
Thomas, a couple of things that I had. So on packet page 64, the demo special instructions for historic resources. Third bullet down, I want to say, and Emily, I might need your help on this one, that criteria for demolition can occur only following receipt of a building permit. I think didn't Martin want us to get rid of that one? That was what led us on Fayette Street. That's why it took so long, because I'm sorry, I mean to put you on the spot. There's one of them that they argued we couldn't do.
This one. Demolition maker on the following receipt of building permit.
I believe you're correct.
Okay. So the introductory says may approve with one of the following conditions, and number 4 I thought was, we had deemed problematic. The only question too, and then Thomas, you said you're gonna probably update this. So the sign examples, just make sure that we're aligning with the nomenclature of the new ordinance. I think we still call them menu signs. I think we still call them wall signs. Make sure they cross, but I would agree, if there's more recent examples of good signs, let's try to maybe switch those out. A couple of these signs don't exist anymore. We might have some better examples, but I'll leave that at your discretion. You dealing directly with applicants, I think better examples that illustrate, I'll leave to your discretion. And then font sizes, do we want to jettison font styles? Because we do say that, what is the one section we talk about from time to time?
Yeah, I think there's been revision to the language to be a little bit more flexible. And I think that the same thing was about lighting fixtures or bulbs and paint as well.
Yeah. So I guess is there comfort level, or Thomas, would you be comfortable with just jettisoning the appendix for type styles altogether? I can't remember where you got those from. And I don't know that we've ever, I don't know if I can say this out loud, but I don't know that I think we've approved signs that have not met that font style based on a case-by-case basis. So I don't know that the utility of that is there
The
anymore.
logic and the utility of
Yeah,
that.
is
Makes
there
sense for
anymore,
sure.
so that may be one thing to think about. And then are we trying to, is the priority to get this approved before the map is changed, or is this something that you want to do all at once? So we could get through this, get it revised, and then it would just track with the amended map. That makes sense what I'm asking?
I'd say the goal would be try to get everything, including the map, done at once. Because that way it goes back to what Ben was saying earlier, where if I'm to provide what exactly the historic district overlay is.
Okay.
Or are you referencing more like historic buildings?
No, I'm
that
just saying
exist?
that because in the map we say those structures outside the historic district and the historic district, since we haven't adopted that new map yet,
Mhm.
do we want to go ahead and update the design guidelines based on the current boundary of the historic district, or do we just want to get them all in sort of a ready to go when the commission and the council vote on an amended district?
I see what you're saying. I would say we've discussed, and it seems like the board is comfortable with the new proposed changes to the historic district
Okay.
map. My thought would be include that in zoning text amendments brought to the planning commission and council
Okay.
per your recommendation, and then I keep the language about what's inside, outside of the district.
Okay.
Keep that in the guidelines.
Just to track with the.
Tracking them
amendment-
at the same time,
With the
yes.
amendment, okay, so have it all sort of packaged up at once, okay.
Yes.
And what's the timeline for town council and planning commission to review that?
So it'd be, I bring the zoning text amendment to the planning commission. They recommend a hold a public hearing for it. So within, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 to 5 month timeline, depending on when the public hearings are held. If it's council work session, council regular session, depends on what meetings are canceled, those kind of things.
It's within the next 6 to 8 months.
Yes.
All righty.
Just to clarify, I'm going back to the item number 4 that you mentioned with Martin, the demolition maker following receipt of a building permit. Let me double check if it is still currently part of section 58-16.12 of the ordinance. Do we still need to include that verbatim?
Okay, I want to say that these 4 were in addition to
In addition, okay,
the criteria in the ordinance.
okay. I'll
But
double
I think it
check
was number
that and then-
4 that led to that issue down on Fayette, where until the site plan was approved for those 2 houses, the building couldn't come down. And that's where that building languished because the site plan took too long. So I think that was an example of why we didn't necessarily need it, or there was other reasons, but that was one example of why it wasn't a viable criteria anymore.
Okay.
So, okay.
And I think it might also be helpful too, within that overall demolition guidelines, just to clarify that, that any sort of demolition needs to be reviewed, not necessarily a contributing structure as well.
Gotcha.
Case in point, the
Yeah,
sheds.
exactly. Because like you have like this one sentence and then it jumps right into like special instructions for historic structures.
Okay. And then in here, I think we do, as an attachment, drop in the criteria, which talks about the three sort of considerations. That being the this is on packet page 71. In reviewing the applications, the architecture review board shall consider the following: how the demo
Mhm.
or removal. So it has those 5 right there, that are addition to what's in the design guidelines. Okay. Thomas, do you need, I know this will probably continue to be a work in progress. Do you have any other questions or feedback you need from us tonight?
Yes, it's related to something Ben brought up and then that you mentioned when we were reviewing the previous application, talking about that tier list of historic district overlay, zoning ordinance, contributing resource. Given what we've discussed so far, what is your best suggestion for where to place that in review procedure? Whereas if I'm the applicant, I bring this to the board, here's their items of consideration.
I mean, I don't know that we need to necessarily specify that, but that was just sort of a way to describe the levels of analysis and scrutiny,
Okay,
right?
so maybe it's a more internal thing.
I think it's more of an
use.
internal thing,
Okay.
or when you're describing to someone, what is it about this property, about the structure that's unique? And you can say, well, either it's one of these sort of options. But yeah, if it makes sense to put a one sentence in that says generally there's 3 sort of statuses or emphases in the historic district, I can talk to you about how, some ideas on how best to drop it in. So,
Okay.
It just seems to be a way to describe to people significance. So.
It may be best used as that, not necessarily part of the guideline itself, but
Yeah,
we
can
can
do
talk
that.
about it.
Yep.
I did have another like somewhat related, but I guess tangential question. Because I was looking at the guidelines earlier today and looking at your memo that you had drafted up for Tracy Lynn's application. Like
Yes.
I guess it's the internal. What is this? The memorandum, the town planner assessment. In it, underneath like the subheading of the Architectural Review Board Historic Guidelines, there's a line item for exterior elements, and we say it's not applicable. Wouldn't the portico and all the stuff that she's doing be exterior elements?
Which page are we on? I'm sorry.
Sorry, this is on package page 8.
Ah.
And so like
Let me go
even
back.
like the roofing, right? Because we were talking about the roofing of the portico, talking about the roofing of the main building, the main house. So I think that those would be just throwing it out there. Yeah, and even lighting attached to the structure, right? You said none, and that's what we were talking about.
At least for now, that looks more like something I can update in the staff report rather than something that is guidelines related.
Yeah,
But I'll
yeah,
keep
and then
that- I'll keep
I
that in mind
didn't
now.
want to like bring it up in front of like Tracy Lynn because it's more
definitely.
like, it's more internal.
Okay. Thomas, I marked up some notes a while back. I don't know what I did with them, so I'll try to go find them and I'll provide them to you.
But as we discussed earlier, I'm happy to meet when
Yeah.
you have time in person, or you can email me over and we can have.
Yeah, what I'll
correspondence that
do
way.
is I'll clean this because I have a mixture of both digital notes and my own chicken scratch here. So I'll kind of distill it down into digital notes, all the same color. That way it's at least understandable.
Okay, any further discussion? Thomas, thanks for keeping this on our agenda. Need to get done. Okay, next item, old business.
Main old business, I believe it was historic district overlay discussion. So it falls within the guidelines. I'll take your consideration for the historic district, update those, or I'm continuing to update the historic district list, making sure we're having all the correct buildings that fall within that categorization in the inventory. I'll update the maps as needed. I'll also add the other maps that we've discussed for your review.
Okay.
Tracy Lynn's application came back and now it's been fully approved. As far as that, other than that, all the new tenants at Crossroads Village, what new businesses do we have so far? We have Taco Bell opened.
They're open, but their drive-through isn't.
So their drive-through, their menu boards and their awnings are still being approved by Prince William County's building department. But everything else is in place. Everything else met zoning requirements. So I gave them temporary zoning release for occupancy just for the interior with conditions on the drive-through area. So
Dr. Early, there's a lot of signs indicating that only the dining rooms
Yeah.
temporary signs.
are. Old business too, I'm thinking, you and I spoke earlier about maybe this is under the planning commission updates, but the townhomes that were approved on Blight Drive, there's a couple of structures that need to be demolished and the condition of approval is that, or what was likely to be a condition of approval of that, they'll submit their applications before the site plan's approved.
Yes.
These are-
We're still fine tuning the site plan as well, working with them on that. So I'll make sure that is emphasized.
Gotcha. And so for reference, you go into Blight Drive all the way up to 66. There's three sort of ramblers or three sort of ranch style homes that are on the left there between that and Villages of Haymarket. So they're proposing, how many townhouses were in there?
It is 11 townhomes.
11 townhouses. And then their architecturals will come to us at a later date.
Along with demolition COA application.
Yep.
Didn't we I thought we looked at something like that last time, didn't we?
We looked at a house, they had an application to improve one of the houses a while back.
Yeah, long time ago, year and a half or so. There was an application for the rearmost house back there that they came in, they wanted to put a second story on it and totally modify the exterior of it. But the developer who wants to build the townhouses made them a good offer and they sold to them.
So that'll be that. And then, okay, switching to new business, any applications coming down the pike other than those I just described?
Potentially, we just gave approval of a preliminary site plan for the hotel site near Crossroads Village. Currently, it's between hotel chain owners. So once there's a proper applicant for the hotel, then we'll get excuse me. Then we'll get architectural submissions for that.
Okay.
Otherwise, I see no other large project submissions coming to the board anytime soon, other than what was described at the Blight Drive townhomes.
And this is going behind Crossroads Village Center and CVS, right?
Yes, it'll go behind CVS. It's right by the 66 entrance ramp.
Thank you. And then planning commission updates. Do you mind going through what you and I talked earlier about the Chick-fil-A, I guess?
Oh, yes. So for planning commission, 2 days ago, we held a public hearing for Chick-fil-A. There's a proposed expansion of their drive-through area. So you have the 2 lanes, ordering lanes that converge into the single pickup lane. They're wanting to add on the outside, they want to remove the landscaping and then add a bypass lane of sorts that it can help expedite mobile orders, those kinds of things. So we're still working with the applicant on that. The public hearing, we'll hold another one next month with Chick-fil-A for that.
But that's still within the parking lot, right? It doesn't look like it'll impact the other. I have like Google. Google Earth.
The main impact held on other lots as part of the application is that some of the traffic for like Virginia National Bank will be rerouted
Yep.
to one-way traffic, those kinds of things, but otherwise, no major effects to the parking.
So all this will go away, all this landscaping will go away
Right.
to a lane, and that may require
Yeah, bump up,
redirection of
yeah.
traffic through here. Because the drive aisle width may be reduced, and so they're looking at the.
Still
traffic
discussing
situation.
dimensions with that. What kind of wayfinding, what will that look like? What will the barriers between the sites still look like? Those kind of things.
Any other items on the PC agenda of note? Okay. Town council updates. We have 7 candidates registered for the 6 council slots for the election in November. So we have a full slate. That's good. Farmers market's going well. Haymarket Day preparations are underway. If you want to help with the vendor setup parking, Long Street leads that, but you're welcome to participate.
When's the date of that?
Hold on, I can tell you, we're gonna need all the hands. October 19th.
We are getting a presentation to the council at the work session about our our funding options. So the council's put together sort of 3 priority projects. It's town center, park, and then some potential parking sites, public parking sites. And so there'll be a presentation or a finance presentation on what potential finance options we might be available for us to look at funding some of those projects that will be coming up soon. And then also the RFP for the demolition of the park house. I believe those are due RFPs are due in August to the county, town in August.
Yes, and that discussion happens at 6 p.m. I don't know if you said that.
Oh, for the finance?
Yeah.
6 p.m. on the 29th,
That's correct, yes.
correct? So that's all I have. Any other council updates that I missed from staff? Any other big things going on?
Let me give one. We did have a schedule change for the planning commission, just to
Okay.
let the board know. So starting in August, we're meeting every second Tuesday of the month instead of every third Monday.
Good to know. Okay, any other topics of discussion? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2 with
Oh, Baker and Mason.
absent for the vote. So, okay, everyone, thank you. We got done in
Now.
59 minutes, 57
Yeah,
minutes.
that's-
So thanks for your help and participation.